This week's club history brings us to East Hockey Tiger Turf, and I'm with the president of the Eastern Suburbs Hockey Club, Todd Fuller, who's also the Division 6 coach, player, junior coach. Anything else in the repertoire, Todd?
Oh, I'm a life member. You've got to add me to that, and barbecue, all-round barbecue guy here, and sometimes you'll find me behind the canteen as well.
So where did the club start from, Todd?
1931, we were the Coorparoo Hockey Club. We've had a few changes since then, and we've had a few homes. In 1931, they started off with a couple of boys' teams, and they were called Coorparoo and at Boondall Reserve, which was down on the corner of Bennett's Road and Old Cleveland Road. Then in 1937, we put our first men's team into the competition, and then along came the war, and there was a break. And then following on from that, we ended up at Eckerburn, at a place called Thompson's Estate. And we became the club itself in 1948. They became the Eastern Suburbs Hockey Club. At that stage, we also had the women come and join us, and junior girls. They set off on their own in 1965 and set up the Eastern Suburbs Women's Hockey Club, but we still played at the same place and still worked together as a club. And then along came the freeway. In 1970, we had to move off to Fairfield and to O'Grady Park. And thankfully, we've moved here in 2009 because last year O'Grady Park was under a lot of water, as it was in 1974, not long after we moved there. We became the Eastern Suburbs Men's Hockey Club in 1988 when we incorporated, and then in 1997 we became a combined club, and the women and men came back together, and so we're all under the auspices of one outfit now. We've had a bit of development. As you can see, we're now here at Carina with a fantastic facility that we spent nearly $3 million of club funds and club members' funds putting this together. But before that, we'd done a fair bit of work at Fairfield, where we had a significant clubhouse, lit 4 fields before the council came along and took some ground off us to widen Fairfield Road, and we were reduced to probably 2.5 or 3 fields. And of course the big impact was turf hockey. That there wasn't the money anymore in playing on grass, and it was hard to upkeep. So in actually 1997 we made the decision to sell our lease at Fairfield, even though we stayed there as a club, put the money in the bank and waited till an opportunity to create a turf came along. So, and talk a little bit about where we are. We're part of the Clem Jones Sports Centre now here at Carina, a little bit from distance from Fairfield, but most of our catchment area effective from our club, from being Coorparoo and then being at Fairfield, effectively went from here out through Mount Gravatt down to Springwood and across to where we come across southwest where they're out at Graceville. So we found that our demographic, in fact, we were pretty central by moving here. Clem Jones is run by the Camp Hill and Carina Welfare Association. They're a community organisation who put money back into the Carina area and provide these sporting facilities. And there's 17 clubs that make up the Carina group here at Clem Jones. Over behind us there's a swimming pool, both heated indoor and outdoor pools and gymnasium. There's a basketball association, and the Spartans play in the national competition. Then we go around to the baseball Carina Leagues, which is one of the main funders of the sporting centre over on the far side, round to the athletics, round to us, and then of course we've got the netball here as well. So it's a real community, and that's one of the big things about our club that we see being part of the community and also being a community. A great example of that is the building of the facility itself. We had a number of people associated both with the club and with hockey who gave of their time, gave product either at cost or as a sponsorship to enable us to build what we have here now at a significant saving to the club and within reach of us as an organisation. Across that we've got a number of sponsors who stayed with us, and if you see what we've put behind us here, we've got the field, the clubhouse and dugout facilities that some people describe as the biggest dugouts in world hockey. We've got the deck that we've attached up here to the back of the sports club, which is part of providing an opportunity for people to come and watch our sport and the social side of what goes on in hockey. From the social aspect of it, there's always talk about how successful you are as a club on the field. We see as being a hockey community, it's an opportunity for families to be part of our club. And if you look at our history, we've got a lot of families of generations who've come and been part of the club and made a contribution to it. And we've got a lot of dynasties where we've had 3 or 4 generations of families. We go back to the early days of the Cushes, and congratulations to Hazley, the stalwart of the real estate industry, who had a little girl on Tuesday night. From his grandfather to his father to himself and hopefully his children, all form part of the collection of people that are here at Carina. We go back through, the Voiseys, where Gil Voisey, who's a stalwart of the veterans hockey community, his father was a club president, and then Gil was a president. His son Jack played for us. We look at some of the other families who've gone through, the Shaws. Peter now has his children here. His parents, his father played as well. So it's one of those things that gets handed down from generation to generation and has a really good feel to the place. Just myself, both my children have played hockey for the club, and I know that looking at somebody like the Bells or the Pembroke family, some of the more recent additions to the club, I've known their kids since they were very little, and I've had the opportunity to play hockey at senior level with those kids as they've grown up, which is just terrific.
So you mentioned 1977 the club came back together as a combined club. Talk us through the reason behind the combination of the club, and one of the few in Brisbane that are combined men and women's club.
Well, I hope I said that was in 97, Tom, but if you think it was in 77, fair enough. We have a limited resource of people and of finances and opportunities, but also socially. And if you're broken up into 4 separate divisions, as some clubs are, they become really centric about their thinking, and they don't use the best of what they can out of the people they have and of the opportunities that may present themselves. So from our side of things, that it's great to see a community aspect where we have men and women coming and watching each other play hockey. From a canteen perspective, the volunteers and the interaction of that, down to the juniors, where if you look out there now, there's a couple of dads who are coaching, there's a couple of senior men who come and help out with the junior girls. In the women's side of the club, we've got guys coaching teams. From the men's side of thing, we've got senior guys who come down and help out with the junior boys. And just for the size and the number of people, so we've got about 500 members. So if you were to decide to break that up into 4 groups of people, you break down the size of the community that you create and the opportunities that you have and the interactions with people. People often think about clubs as putting teams on the field. Well, we've got 38 teams because we're one of the biggest, one of the bigger clubs in Brisbane. But I see us as much more than that, and we say, well, we've got 500 players, but above the 500 players, we've got parents, we've got siblings, we've got partners, so that our community is much bigger than that. And I see that one of the strengths from East's point of view is that when we have men and women, boys and girls, you can go to any facility when people are playing hockey, and there's usually somebody there from East. Supporting East, following East, being involved in what goes on. One of the big things I saw was that when we built this place, working bees, we had a couple of working bees. We had a great day here where we landscaped, and we would have had a couple of hundred people turn up, from kids who were 10 or 11, all the way up to some of our older players, Errol and the boys who are in their 70s, coming along, mixing, getting to know people, and really digging in and getting on with what we were doing here. And we got to carry that forward, so that once we opened, we have volunteers who come and help man the canteen. And one of the strengths again of it's a social atmosphere. If you go down there now, there's lots of kids playing, but I saw a group of mums out on the deck having a Chardonnay, a dad behind the barbecue, and as these kids come off, they'll have something to eat, they'll wander home, but they have a positive experience both on the turf and off the turf when they're with us.
So 3rd year of the establishment here.
Yep.
Talk us quickly through that 3 years and what do you see as the future for the Eastern Suburbs Club?
Okay, first year was the honeymoon. We came from having nothing to having this facility, and a lot of people were involved, and we had a real drive forward, and people enjoyed coming here from other clubs and experiencing the new facility. Second year we carried on a bit with that, and that we had a summer comp, so that we found ourselves here during the winter season. We're using it 7 days a week, and during summer we use it 5 days a week. Third year, a bit more of a struggle for us with volunteers and numbers, but that's just a cyclic thing. I know that the people who've put all the big efforts in the first couple of years, perhaps are struggling a little bit in the 3rd year,
and we're working on recruiting other people to come in and help us out. But financially it's been a success. We obviously have a debt that we need to cover for the cost of the replacement of the field, and also monies that we borrowed to build what we've built here. But financially it's a viable and going concern. Going forward, we hope to build upon what we've got here. One of the issues is about numbers, and I see something for hockey in general is numbers for boys. We're not a very strong boys sport. We don't coexist very well with the other major sports, but that's what we have to look at how we can do that. We don't participate in school sport at a boy level where we do at girls, and the issue for the girls is that we've got so many girls sometimes that we don't have enough people to coach them, and we don't have enough turf time because everybody wants to play on the turf. And even in the women's competition, there's a ceiling on how many teams we can put into the women's competition, so that at times when we have a large number of players, we can't necessarily put them all on the field. So going forward, there's two different issues for us. One is about gaining boys and keeping them in the sport. I see that indoor hockey's a really good way of introducing boys to that, and one of our aims is perhaps having a facility here in the future where indoor can be played. That would make us the complete facility then, both an outdoor and an indoor facility. And also looking at us as a model, that this is replicated perhaps elsewhere in Brisbane, so that we end up with more facilities for more people, and whether that's the Brisbane men and women getting together or the clubs getting together and funding another turf being built somewhere else, because we can show that it can be set up and can be financially viable. And then we'll have those opportunities, particularly in the women, to have more competition, and for our girls. And perhaps if we've got this sort of facility, we become more attractive to some of the boys' schools and to boys generally to come and play our sport. Most of our boys I call retreads because they've come from hockey families. It's not a lot that we get boys from outside the sport who come along. If we talk about your own son, I'm not from a hockey family, but the kids next door to me played hockey. They weren't from a hockey family, but there was a hockey family in the street who got those other kids into playing. And it's that sort of networking and community and getting people involved in the sport that we see as the next step for us. A facility is only a facility. A club is as strong as the people it has and the community that it creates. And when I speak of community, I'm just not talking about results on the field. You can be a very successful club and not win premierships, but most successful clubs win premierships. And part of our strength for the last 20 odd years is that we've been a competitive club, and people have seen that, and we've also now been able to produce what we have behind us, which is fairly important to us as well. And you can see that if we head off to London, we've got 3 guys on the field who've played for us. Mark Knowles, Jamie Dwyer and Matt Goads, all products of Rockhampton, but after they'd grown up and came to the big smoke, they all played for us. Mark's uncle, Reg, coaches our 2nd grade side here and has successfully coached our A grade side over a period of time. And of course we've got Jason Wilson, who also played for us, who's over there as the 19th man. We haven't got to see him yet, and hopefully nobody gets injured. And we've even got a connection with our A grade goalkeeper, Andrew Butterini's brother. He's over there playing at the moment as well. So there's connections in success, and last year Mark and Jamie came back and held a coaching clinic here, and it was great for the kids to see that sort of thing and to see those sort of people and the success they have coming through from an organisation that we can provide, or an opportunity we can provide for them. And it's great to see how the great games being played over there. The speed and the finesse of those guys is just really impressive, and it's a world stage. The question is, how do you take that from once every 4 years into being lots of kids running around out here? And that's probably a challenge for our associations.
Easter look like they've got a very interesting future ahead of them. Todd, thanks very much for spending time with Hockey Zone on today, talking about the Eastern Suburbs Hockey Club.
Thanks, Tommy, and thanks for coming out, and thanks to Hockey Zone for promoting our sport.